Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology, and you're listening to your sun sign horoscopes for the month of September. This is the horoscope for Aries we're going to be taking a look at. But before I dive in and tell you about the month ahead, I first wanted to just give you a little update on what I'm doing here. These sun sign horoscopes are something that I usually write every month. You can find them on astrograph.com. I'm actually going to show you astrograph so you can see what I'm talking about. So here's astrograph.com. I write a column here every month. If you go to the horoscopes at the top of the page, you'll see that the written version of these horoscopes for the month can be found by clicking on the glyph of your sun sign. You can also always read for your rising sign as well, which is pretty cool. I also recommend that you check out Time Passages software, which Astrograph sells, and it's a great software for beginners. They have apps for your phone, and this is one of the best softwares out there. I have 2 software programs, and this is one of them, and I really recommend it, especially for beginners. It's a really nice, intuitive program. Doesn't have the advanced features you might need if you're really deep into Hellenistic astrology, but I've been told there are going to be some cool Hellenistic upgrades coming soon. In the meantime, Astrograph has all that you need. It's a super intuitive program, so I'm just really happy to promote it because I write for them and really get along with all the great astrology people and minds at Astrograph, good folk. So at any rate, with that being said, I'm going to switch over now so that you can see your horoscope for the month. All right, so for Aries, it's a big month of September. We're going to take it sort of one step at a time. The month gets started for you for Aries Sun rising. Those would be the good things you'd be looking at if you're looking at this horoscope in particular. You could, if you're an Aries rising or an Aries sun sign, an Aries horoscope of any kind for the month ahead would be applicable if someone's doing a solar style horoscopes. So at any rate, let me switch over so you can see this now. I'm still getting used to the controls on Zoom, so give me a couple more tries before I perfect all of this. But at any rate, here is your chart. So the month gets started with, as you can see, I'm actually going to use the annotate tool and draw here. The planet Mercury is in your 5th house, and it's about to make a sextile to Venus in Libra in your 7th house. So that perfects on September 3rd. You can actually see this if I advance to September 3rd. You'll see that the 2 of them connect between around 25 degrees Leo to 25 degrees of Libra. So this is a nice little transit to start the month, and it really reflects a mood of diplomacy in your relationships to begin the month. Venus in the 7th house can suggest romance or love. Connecting with Mercury in the 5th house, there can be an aura of sort of creativity and romance and creative collaboration in partnerships, or just looking at the topic of communication and relationships. But it also has kind of a flirtatious energy or vibe to it. And yeah, this doesn't last very long, but it's a nice one to start the month. If you have kids, the 5th house is also the house of children and pregnancy. And with Venus in the 7th house, sometimes the topic of love, relationship, and children will all come together. With a sextile between Mercury and Venus, this is a harmonious kind of dynamic, so anything indicated here would probably be positive. You do want to be careful for going over the top a little bit with this one, because Venus in Libra with Mercury and Leo can be a little like a showman and kind of overpromise and underdeliver, or become a little extravagant or theatrical. So you do want to be careful of that. All right, so clear that and we'll go forward. The next big thing that's happening is on September 8th, Venus is then in your 6th, oops, switch that over. Venus in Libra in your 7th house, which you can see right here, will be making a square to Mars in Capricorn in your 10th house. And that's a transit that has a lot to do with, again, relationships are featured with Venus in your 7th house, which in a good sign, that usually means agreement, growth, success, confirmation, good things coming in the partnership area right now, or just a more romantic mood that's in the air, so to speak. But here it's creating a square with Mars in the 10th house, which is your career house. Mars is exalted. So you could see, first of all, sexual and creative tensions whenever Venus and Mars square one another. This is around September 8th. So there could be a more sort of sexual, creative tension in the air in relationships or in the workplace, or simultaneously you could see some sense of tension about the way that things are being done or should be done. For example, your ruling planet is Mars, exalted in the career house. You might really be wanting to sort of press forward and really go after your work right now, or accomplishment, or a project. You know, it's a very ambitious, hardworking Mars. That's your personal planet. But Venus is pressing a square from the 7th house of relationships, maybe suggesting more diplomacy, more tact, where you would rather just, you know, put the pedal to the metal. So you do want to be careful, cautious that you're sort of navigating your ambitions with enough sensitivity to what others are asking from you, or what might be, you know, a time for diplomacy or negotiation or compromise on some level. So at any rate, that's the next big transit of the month that I have for Aries this month. Now, when you go forward from there, the very next day, you're going to see on September 9th, you're going to see a new moon in your 6th house, opposite Neptune in your 12th house. Now, the 6th and 12th house traditionally were said to be somewhat difficult. These houses both could entail sickness. They could both entail service to those who are suffering. They could also entail healing, or a personal or inner healing crisis. They could also bring up events that are just difficult, the more painful or challenging events in life that we don't necessarily like, but we may need in order to grow. So this new moon really packs a punch for Arians as it lands across the 6th and 12th house, or it lands in the 6th house, but it's opposing Neptune in the 12th. Let's see, I have a few other things written down. In my written horoscope, for example, at this stage, I said, be extra thoughtful about what you are giving your time, energy, and resources to, as you may not be seeing everything clearly, or you might be deluding yourself into believing that something is going to help you more than it will. The reason for this is that with Neptune in the mix, and with Mars sort of exalted in your career house and about to head into your 11th house, where we often face, or we often meet allies or people who want to help us in some way, or we connect with groups of like-minded people. It's a very ambitious position for your personal planet this month. And yet, with the new moon falling in the 6th opposite Neptune in the 12th, you just want to be careful, because ambition, too much ambition without enough discernment, could basically get you into a little bit of trouble this month for the moon cycle ahead as well. That part in my written horoscope, this section of your written horoscope for the month, I also wrote the 6th and 12th houses highlighted. The themes of healing and selfless service are also pronounced. With Mars just about to enter the 11th house of friends, groups, and allies, perhaps you're ready to surrender yourself more fully to a healing process, or to offer yourself in service through a group or organization. So that's the other thing, is that the same energy could be put to service for those who are suffering, and maybe that lines up with wanting to be in or be in a group, or you're finding new allies that have some kind of humanitarian, healing, or charitable mission or vision. So that's also potentially indicated right now. All right, so when we go forward from there to September 12th, then on September 12th, you can see here that Venus in your 8th house is going to oppose, you have to excuse me, I'm a horrible online artist. Venus in your 8th house is going to oppose Uranus in your 2nd house. Now, generally speaking, Venus opposite Uranus transits for everybody can entail revolution, changes, disruption, defiance, innovation in relationships. Because Venus is love and relationships, friendships, the balance, and Uranus is a rebel, there can be some upsetting of relationships or the balance, maybe with something rebellious or defiant. Or again, Uranus is also original and creative and sort of eccentric and outside of the box. So you could also be finding that there's just room or opportunity to make some positive changes right now and maybe do something that's just not quite as traditional. Now, with Venus and Uranus also opposing each other across the 2nd and 8th house, you're thinking about some of the financial themes as well. Your money, your time, your finances, your energy, your investments, your debt, your loans, the money that you have, the money that you give, as well as a spouse's or partner's money or financial situation, which can essentially bring up questions about the balance of power or responsibility in relationships. So that's something you also should be aware of right now, is potentially some changes or challenges around finances and relationships. So then when you go forward from there, to September 18th, make sure I've got that right. Yep, when we go forward to September 18th, then you're going to get another square to Uranus, but this time it's from Mars. So now Mars is entering your 11th house, and it's going to square Uranus in Taurus in your 2nd house. Now here you have some similar themes, the 2nd house being a house of your time, your money, your energy, your possessions, your resources. And Mars being in the house of friends, groups, allies. All summer long, you had a Mars retrograde in your 11th house, which means you may have been doing some revising or rethinking of your relationships in general, socially, social circles, social groups, colleagues. Also, what your ambitions are for the future and what kinds of people or associations you want in your life or don't want in your life. And this may also be intimately related to finances or to sudden changes in your financial life or status that have been that has been taking place. So this transit matches the energy of the retrograde that was happening all summer, which is very personal for you because Mars retrograde, again, Mars is your home planet as an Aries. So this could suggest changes in groups or social situations, changes in the kind of culture you want to be a part of, your ambitions for the future, and especially relationship, again, to finances or your personal values. What do I value? What do I want to do with my time and energy in the world? What kind of things do I want? What things do I have? Changing quite a bit with Uranus just entering your 2nd house as of May of 2018. So you have been and you will be continuing to evaluate these financial and personal values for quite some time to come. All right, that's Uranus will be in your 2nd house for 7 to 8 years actually, so it's quite a long one. All right, so the next piece on my list for you is between September 22nd and 23rd. The sun is going to enter the sign of Libra, and that's the fall equinox. Put it in here so you can see it. So the fall equinox will bring the sun into your 7th house right here. And the sun will be there for about 30 days in your 7th house of relationships and love. And so there's going to be an emphasis for the next 30 days, the sun bringing wisdom, bringing light, bringing understanding into the area of relationships. And so it's a time to be evaluating, thinking about your relationships, maybe spending more time there, more of a focus in that area for the next 30 days. And that's always good to look at this fall equinox, because it really sets the tone not only for the next 30 days to come, but for the entire season of the autumn. So you always look at the equinoxes and solstices to get a sense of what's up. And then finally, on the next, or last big moment of the month is going to be the full moon that's taking place on September 24th across the 1st and 7th house axis between the moon in Aries and the sun in Libra. And it's making a T-square to Saturn in your career house. So this is going to bring up the balance of power in relationships. It's going to bring up issues of independence versus dependence. What's the balance between self and other? And it's also going to place some stress or pressure on things, not only in relationships and personally, but in terms of maybe hard choices, increased responsibility, changes or challenges in the workplace, with sort of taskmaster Saturn T-squaring from your career house. So it's a big full moon to end the month, placing stress and pressure, really creative, transformational focus on the area of self, health, individuality, other, relationship, and then work and career. So it's a big one to end the month. So that's what I've got for you. I hope that you have a very good month, and stay tuned, because we're going to be doing these every month. So you can check back in for your October horoscope via Venus retrograde in Scorpio. We're going to be talking about next month. And then don't forget to check out the written version of your horoscope at astrograph.com, or you can learn more about my work at nightlightastrology.com. All right, take care, everyone.